as people know, I've had my differences with the president, but this situation, I think, he's being unjustly treated, just as he was by the Russiagate scam and the whole idea of the resistance. So I feel bad that this has happened. I don't think it's justified. And so at that very human level, I feel bad for him.
That was Bill Barr there, the former Attorney General who served under Donald Trump's administration. He was weighing in on the indictment charges made against the former president as he faced his arraignment today at a Manhattan courthouse. Bill Barr, who notoriously had a complicated relationship with Trump, said he thinks that he is being unjustly treated the same way he was treated when it came to the Russiagate scandal. Mr. Barr says that he feels bad for Donald Trump, believing the charges are unjustified. Donald Trump has arrived and already left the New York courthouse, where he learned exactly what these indictment charges include. The former president has been slapped with 34 counts relating to falsifying business records in the first degree, which are Class E felonies in the state of New York, which is the lowest classification in the state. What we know now from District Attorney Alvin Bragg is that Donald Trump has been accused of repeatedly making false statements on New York business records and caused other people to do so too. He claims during a presidential election campaign, the former president falsified business records with the intent to defraud in an attempt to conceal another crime. We already knew that these charges were in relation to a $130,000 payout to porn star Stormy Daniels to ensure her silence about her alleged affair with Mr. Trump. A situation we know as catch and kill to stop a bad headline from happening to influence the outcome of an election. This payment was made by Trump's former lawyer, Michael Cohen, who was jailed for 3 years for violating campaign finance laws, but maintains that Trump ordered him to do it. While it's not illegal to pay hush money, the charges allege that he falsified business records. District Attorney Alvin Bragg fronted the media after the arraignment, where he examined exactly what these charges are, telling the media that Donald Trump continuously lied to cover up crimes at the time of a presidential election.
Less than 2 weeks before the presidential election, Michael Cohen wired $130,000 to Stormy Daniels' lawyer. That payment was to hide damaging information from the voting public. The participant scheme was illegal. The scheme violated New York election law, which makes it a crime to conspire to promote a candidacy by unlawful means. The $130,000 wire payment exceeded the federal campaign contribution cap. And the false statements in AMI's books violated New York law. That is why Mr. Trump made false statements about his payments to Mr. Cohen. He could not simply say that the payments were a reimbursement for Mr. Cohen's payments to Stormy Daniels. To do so, to make that true statement, would have been to admit a crime. So instead, Mr. Trump said that he was paying Mr. Cohen for fictitious legal services in 2017 to cover up actual crime committed the prior year. And in order to get Michael Cohen his money back, they planned one last false statement. In order to complete the scheme, they planned to mischaracterize the repayments to Mr. Cohen as income to the New York State tax authorities. The conduct I just described and that which was charged by the grand jury is felony criminal conduct in New York State.
Now, it should be noted that Donald Trump did plead not guilty to the charges at his arraignment today. The first hearing into this will take place on December 4, with a trial set for early 2024, which cuts the time fine for the presidential election. Donald Trump is already on his way back to Florida after looking pretty glum today in Manhattan. He didn't front the media, nor did he make any commentary while walking through the courthouse to any reporters. The situation of what went on inside the courtroom has been described as being very intense. Only a select amount of reporters were allowed inside, there was a no-phone rule, and the former president was very much protected by security. Federal law enforcement producer Jake Gibson was in the Manhattan courtroom and described the scenes to Fox News.
This was pretty intense. I mean, it's not a huge room, but there's probably 50 reporters in there. There were 15 15, 20, 25 law enforcement officials that were on the end of each row. So we couldn't really see that well because they're standing up in front, so we can't really see up there. What you really saw well is him enter the room and leave the room. There was Secret Service agents in there. There were the court police. There were just a lot of police in there, and they were very strict with the press. You know, we will kick you out of here. We see a phone, we'll kick you out. People would try to sit up a little bit to look, sit down. I think this was a very serious, it was very intense in there.
White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre was probed on whether President Joe Biden was given the heads up early that his predecessor was facing criminal charges.
When we first learned about the indictment, the president was not given a heads up. He was briefed by his chief of staff, and he learned about this just like all of you through the reporting.
The press secretary was then asked this.
Does the White House believe that a former president could or should be indicted?
I'm just not going to comment from here.
Republican strategist John Jordan labelled the charges a sad day, describing that this is a problematic case which will be hard to prove Donald Trump's intention.
It's unprecedented, and it is a very sad day. I think that there are some in America that truly, hate Trump so much that their sadness for America is eclipsed by their hatred of one man, and that's probably what saddens me most of all.
Okay, so what do you make of the case against him?
Well, I'm a lawyer too, and I have to agree with some of your previous guests. This is a problematic case for the prosecution. They have to prove intent, they have to prove knowledge, and they have to prove that the underlying crime. And as you pointed out, the Federal Election Commission, the U.S. Attorney's Office, all declined to prosecute this based on federal law. Now, Alvin Bragg raised the issue of state election laws, but I read the text, and they're pretty much the same language as the federal laws. So you'd have to prove that Donald Trump chose to use this to influence an election, when in fact he can say, hey, regardless of the election, I was going to do this anyway for two reasons: protect my marriage, and because his contract with NBC had a morals clause in it, that he was doing that to make sure that there was nothing public and ugly out in the open with him that might give NBC an out on his TV contract. And that isn't a crime. It's only a crime if he intended to influence an election. And it's not clear that he did, that it's clear that he would have done it anyway.